Hey guys, this is Nick with EDC Mag, and today we're going to talk about Mikkel Willumsen. Before we get started with this fella, I want to show you a couple other models. I'm going to take a little bit different approach today. For you guys, if you're just getting into knives and you're not quite ready to spend the money on, you know, a high-end custom knife, pay attention to the knives that you do buy and that you do like, and do a little research. Find out who the designer is. Find out who designed your knife. Find out the guy that the knife was inspired by. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's just going to be a knife that was designed internally by the company. But a lot of other times, it might be a famous knife designer, and as you're developing your taste in knives and figuring out what you do like and don't like in knives, you might find that you like specific or particular knife makers or knife designers. This is a pretty basic low-end Mikkel Willumsen knife, and it is actually made by, well, it's a product of Lansky, and Lansky makes knife sharpeners, and this is like a $25 knife. I bought it because it was a Mikkel, and also I bought this several years ago. It had a 4-inch blade, and it was cheap. It was like, I don't know, 25, 35 bucks. I honestly don't remember. I threw it in my truck, and that's where it lives. And you know, it's pretty basic knife. It's like, you know, G10 and 12 CR steel. I mean, it's not a bad knife, but it's not, you know, it's not a fancy knife. It's not a high-end quality knife. It's a truck knife. I mean, that's what it's good for. The action on it, it's on washers. I'm sure the action would probably get better with use. I haven't even really played with it that much, but I mean, for the money, it's not bad. I haven't even taken the time to reverse the clip, which clip's reversible on it. But you know, Lansky's a knife sharpening company. They're a company that said, hey, we sharpen knives, maybe we ought to put our name on a knife. So they got with Mikkel and had some Chinese company make them one, which, you know, that's fine. A lot of companies do that. A lot of companies do that. No idea who made this thing. If they would have put this on bearings and made it a little more expensive, you know, it could have been a better knife, but you know, it's a good knife to practice on your Lansky with. So anyway, it's still a Mikkel Willumsen design. And this is another Mikkel Willumsen design, and this was by Kizer. And Kizer is a Chinese manufacturer. If you don't know, you probably do, but they're a Chinese manufacturer. They, you know, as far as Chinese manufacturers go, I kind of rate them like Riot, and then and then Kizer, and you know, it gets pretty muddled after that because there's just so many of them. And there are a lot of them actually that are catching up to Kizer, and I've owned quite a few Kizers here and there in the last few years. This is actually one of my favorite. I like this knife. This is the Kizer Maddox. It's a 375-inch blade. I think this is either titanium or aluminum, but this knife was I think this knife was like 220, 230, 230, I think. It's S35 VN steel, but this is your epic classic Mikkel Willumsen design and style of knife. There's a smaller version that looks like this from Kizer, and it's called the P-Rock. But this thing rides on bearings. I've had this for a couple of years, and as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, fit, finish, action, I think this is one of Kizer's best knives. I think this is one of the best knives they've ever done. It's just the way it fits, the way it feels, the way it fits in hand. It's just a really, really well done knife. Super nice. Kizer really knocked it out of the park with this. There's not a whole lot to it. It's a pretty basic knife. It does have some additional features, but the action on it is just phenomenal. It does have a reversible clip option, which why you'd carry it, I don't even want to get into tip up, tip down. Let's not even go there. It does have a nice insert. If you can see that. And this is a production knife. So, that, you know, prevent lock stick. Very nice. Just a beautiful knife. It's a production knife. As far as I know, they are still available. If Mikkel Willumsen interests you and you don't want a, you know, $25 widget knife, this would be my recommendation. I mean, Mikkel's been around for well over 10 years. He's partnered with a lot of manufacturers with his designs, and, you know, Browse was another one that I am not really a fan of at all. I've owned quite a few of those. But these Kizers that he did were just, Kizer really did him well, because these are just really well done knives. And again, if you don't want something this big, 375 to me is not big, but they do have a little bit smaller version, like I said, called the P-Rock. I'm not sure what this weighs, but you can get online, Knife Center, Blade HQ, whoever sells Kizer, which is pretty much everyone. You can find it, get all the specs. Just a really well done knife. It just feels bigger than it is, and a lot of that has to do with the blade shape. And you'll notice this as we go through, but a lot of Mikkel's knives have this sloped shape to them. It's very pronounced, way more than most other makers, which he describes his knives as urban tactical knives. And, you know, if you're bearing down or cutting or just whatever you're doing with these knives, you really notice that when you're using them. Not all his designs are this blade shape. He's got a ton of designs out there, and there's a lot of different styles of knives. I just happen to kind of like this shape and style, so this is kind of what I've gravitated towards. But if you look Mikkel up, he's got a lot of different stuff, a lot of different designs, a lot of different models. Just to give you an idea with the Kershaw, so we got a 3.2, 375, definitely a tall blade, which I like a lot. But just a very, very cool design that has been very well executed by one of the better Chinese brands out there, which is Kizer. All right, let's talk about the real deal. Now, Mikkel has been around and making knives for well over 10 years. He's a lifelong magician. He's a professional knife maker. That's his profession, his trade. He is out of Denmark, and he kind of describes his knives as urban tactical. I had been wanting a Willumsen for quite a while. The cool thing about a lot of his knives is, even though they're custom, they're still somewhat reasonably priced for the most part. Most of his knives are not over the top fancy with you know, Damascus and elephant tusk and rainbow farts and, you know, all the cool stuff that you can put on knives that cost a fortune. Most of his knives are a little bit more basic and a lot more affordable than a lot of other custom knives in the same kind of classification. You can pick up a decent Mikkel Willumsen for anywhere between most of the ones I've been looking at in this similar style were somewhere between $500–600. And for a full-blown handmade custom knife, you know, that's a pretty good deal. And you can pick them up for, you know, $250–300 on the secondary market as well. And they're phenomenally made knives. They're handmade knives, and he is a stickler for detail. This particular knife is 3.5 inches with an RWL34 steel, and he did a tremendous amount of CNC work on this blade to get those ridges. Something just very unique, very cool, very different. Pretty amazing. Now, I got this knife from the guy who ordered it from Mikkel, and it took him a week to make this knife, and he said that they were doing video calls back and forth throughout the whole process, and that he was just absolutely phenomenal to work with, and a really good guy, and it was overall just a tremendous experience. I haven't had the pleasure of talking to him myself yet. I'm sure hopefully at some point during my collecting that I will get that chance, but it just hasn't happened yet. But when I was going to get one of these knives, my plan was to get one that was a little bit more bare bones and a little bit more basic, because I had already knew that I was going to love the design, and it was going to be something that I was going to throw in my pocket and beat the crap out of and carry around. So when this one came up, it was considerably more than what I was expecting or planning on, and to be honest, I'm really not even a fan of green on knives, but man, this thing has done so well, and it was just so gorgeous. I couldn't pass it up. I couldn't say no. This is all titanium. This green carbon fiber is just phenomenal. It really stands out. Just seamless transitions here. And you know, Mikkel's also really well known for his scales and the detail that he puts into them. This has a lot of detail and machine work, even on the lock side. You can see he's put his name in there. I don't know if you can see, if we can see that. Willumsen. That's some serious, I don't know if that's mill work, CNC work, but CNC I would guess. Pretty intense. Pretty cool though. It's drilled out for weight reduction. I love these holes on the lock. It just really gives you a good grip when you're going to release the blade. Just gives you a little bit of added grip for your thumb. Absolutely beautiful. Roller clip, and it is, I don't know if it'll pick it up, and yeah, I think you can see that, just a little bit, sort of an army green. And once you go roller clip, you'll never go back. Proprietary pivot, just gorgeous, gorgeous pivot. Got an insert here so that you'll never have to worry about any sort of lock stick whatsoever. It's on bearings, and it went back to him about a month before I got it for a spa, so it's still a little bit tight, not quite as loose as maybe it should be, but I haven't really flipped it as much as I probably should, just due to time and issues. But wow, overall it's a stunning knife. Now, no, I'm not a lanyard guy, but it came with this lanyard, and this lanyard was made on the knife, and man, it's just cool, and I didn't want to cut it off. It does match the knife really well. It's well done. It's a slick lanyard, so yeah, okay, I got a knife with a lanyard. Just an overall beautiful knife. I mean, it's bright. It does stand out. You're not going to pull this out and be stealth with it. Unless you're in a field of green, maybe. Let's see what this thing weighs. I'm going to guess around 3.7 maybe? 3.7. I meant 7.3. So 7.5, 7.5 ounces. It's about right. It is a 3.5 inch knife. 3.7. Jeez, I'm under caffeinated. All right, so let's check it out next to our trusty Kershaw. Give you an idea size-wise. So 3.2, 3.5. This might be actually technically 3.54, but you get the idea. It's a taller blade. But just a cool knife. And these knives, you know, Mikkel, I don't think any two knives he makes are really identical. You know, he's just a true craftsman, and it's like he's going along and making a knife, and he can see the bigger picture, and he may go, oh, maybe this would look good with this one, or let's try this with that one. And you know, it's almost like a gifted, well, it's like a gifted artist that just can throw caution to the wind and mad science, and it just turns out phenomenal. This is a really phenomenal, stunning example of his work, and way above what I was planning on getting from him. So I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to get this thing and play with it. Now, for me, it's, you know, it's 3.5 inch blade, and it actually does fit my hand somewhat pretty good. I would still like to have you know, a little bit more. I'd still prefer a 4-inch blade, and he does make some bigger knives, but primarily in these styles what I've seen is they stay around 3.5, 3.6, but he does definitely make some bigger knives. But you just can't argue with anything on this knife. It's just a perfect example of what he's capable of, and the type of work that he does. Just an absolutely amazing knife. Kind of a practical, tactical, urban tactical knife. Definitely easy to carry, especially with that roller clip. So I want to encourage you guys on a couple of things. First of all, if you're just getting into knives and you find a blade design you like and it's 25, 30 bucks, great, but see if you can figure out, if it doesn't just flat out tell you on the blade, and even if it does, figure out who designed that knife, who was the designer, who was the maker, because he started out making these and then partnered with companies to make these. And as you advance in your knife collecting and start coming up the ladder and investing more into knives, you may find yourself favoring certain makers, certain blade styles. I spent a couple of years just playing in production. I knew there was a lot more out there, but I really wanted to fully understand within the production world the type of knives that I really liked before I moved into customs and mid-techs. But you know, some makers, depending on their personal preferences, how long they've been around, most makers, like they will partner with manufacturers. I mean, it's a good way for them to get their name out, to get their knives out, their designs. And you know, because they're custom making knives one at a time, There's only so much time in a day, and you know, mass producing something like this to get your name out there is a pretty damn good way to help you know, pay the rent and put food on the table, while and you know, helping you free up time to be creative and make the stuff that you really love to do. Kizer did an excellent job with this knife. Definitely one of their best. Kind of rambling here, but just so we know, still kind of tall, a little bit taller blade here. Give you an idea, next to a Kershaw. This is called the Red-E. So, you know, kind of like I'm ready, Red-E. Always Red-E, always ready. So there you go, guys. Mikkel Willumsen. A lot of options, a lot of different knives, a lot of production versions going on with Mikkel. If you see a custom knife that you like and it's, you know, out of your price range at the moment, take a look around, see what maybe they have done to partner with manufacturers on their designs. You never know what you might find. So you can go up that ladder, or you can start at the top and then climb down to a point that you're comfortable at and see where it takes you. Well, hey guys, this is Nick with EDC Mag. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We're having a lot of fun, and we've got a lot more coming up. I want to thank everyone for watching, and until next time, have a great day.